This course is designed to provide information only. Twin Life Coaching and Business Services, of which Amplifying Leadership is also a division, holds no liability for any decisions or actions taken by the people watching this recording. Welcome to Crush That Interview. This course is designed to help you beat that next interview during your job search. You can find out more about all of our services at twinlifecoaching.ca, or if you would like to reach out for some coaching, consulting, or a free consult, please email us at info@twinlifecoaching.ca. If you're ready to crush that next interview, make sure you have a pen and paper handy so you can take some notes and learn some great tips and tools. My name is Tara Lehman, and I will be your host throughout this webinar today. My business partner, identical twin sister, and partner in crime is Barb Schutz. And yes, we are identical twins, and this is where we came up with the name Twin Life Coaching and Business Services. All right, if you're ready, let's go crush some interviews. You had an interview, and now you're second guessing yourself, and you're not too sure you want to take that job. This quote reminds us that every action you take is one you have control over, by Alden Mills. If you have that interview and you decide you don't want to work for that company, let them know that you absolutely appreciate having the interview, however, you have decided against it. Or if you receive a job offer and you've just accepted something better, again, be sure to get back to them and say, I'm so sorry, I've made the choice to accept another job offer. I really appreciate your time. This quote's also important when it comes to when our anxieties come up with regards to interviews. A lot of people get nervous. Remember, you have control over everything. So we're going to teach you some things that'll help you overcome those anxieties and fears that you may have around interviews, or even what happens after a bad one, so that you can have control over the next one. We want to start with you reflecting on bad interview that you had any time in your life, one that really sticks out. Bad interviews happen. They do. And it's not a bad thing at all times. Maybe it was the job you wanted, but the interview went badly and you didn't get the job. Let's use that as a learning opportunity rather than being upset or anxious or mad about something that we can no longer change. We want you to take a reflection as with the bad interview that you've had in the past. Think of the worst interview you ever had. Write it down. Then we want you to reflect. Why did it go badly? How could you have changed it? Also note if you got the job or not. Because as an interviewer who is interviewing you, we interviewers know that people are nervous and anxious, so you may have received the job. If you didn't get the job, these two questions are very key in helping you with your reflection because you can change and learn from something that didn't go well. Maybe you spilled coffee or water all over everybody's papers because you were super nervous. Maybe you skipped an entire question or fumbled through something that didn't go well. How can you better prepare next time? Take a moment to reflect on this. We should start at the beginning, the before the interview. Please know that knowledge is power. If you have an interview and you go in there without having researched the company, looked them up on LinkedIn or checked out their social media to see what's important to them or what their values and culture are, you may fail in the interview. You can learn from that failure, of course, so never forget that. But to prepare, make sure you know about the company. A lot of times, the first question an interviewer is going to ask is, tell us what you know about our company. Great place to look here is the About Us pages. What is their culture? What are their core values? What do they believe in? And maybe a little bit about their history. Make sure you write down some key notes that you know that you can remember about the company before you go into the interview. Use the job description or the job posting to create your own interview questions for practice. There may be parts on there that you don't have. Maybe for an HR manager, it says that you need to have the certification for CHIRP, for example, in Canada. You don't have that. How can you answer the question that comes up? Can you please let us know when you received your CHIRP certification or your Human Resources Management certifications? If you don't have that, how can you answer that? It's about practicing those things and making sure you have an answer for everything that is on the job description, all of the tasks and all of the mandatory requirements. That doesn't mean you have those things. It means you have an answer to them. Perhaps with working towards our human resources certification, we're in the process of doing that. We can let them know. Perhaps we have 20 years experience where we can say, I have not gone for my certification. However, I have 20 years HR leadership experience throughout my roles in the past. Anything that can help make sure you prepare a question for each thing that they show as a task and each thing they show as a job requirement before the interview. Then ask someone to help you practice as well. Maybe they can read that job ad or job description and come up with a few scenarios you may need to answer to help you with some ad hoc questions. They can also be different types of people interviewing you. They could be the person that just asks the question and never responds. They can be the devil's advocate, maybe with our HR situation, and say, all right, but we're requiring a CHIRP certification or HR certification. What are you going to do about that? Right? Have someone help you with that. Always practice about how you're going to walk or sit or stand. Some interviews are online and some are in person. Coming in with confidence on the outside will help you feel more confident on the inside. Be sure not to fiddle. If you are a fiddler with your hands or you don't know what to do with them, simply interlace your fingers together and place them on your lap. Or mirror what they are doing is another good option if they're not doing anything strange, of course. Think about what those worst case scenarios could be. Maybe you do spill that hot coffee all over the interviewers. What can you do and plan for if that actually happens? How do you apologize? How do you help? Whatever those worst case scenarios are that are floating in your head, prepare for them in advance. If the traffic's really heavy and you're late, how can you advise them rather than showing up late? You can't always use your cell phone in traffic, so perhaps you email them before you leave saying you're on your way, you hear traffic is bad, always looking up what traffic's going to look like, and even the day before driving by so you know where you're going. We do recognize that interviews can create fear and anxiety and stress in people. So we wanted to make sure we gave you some more tips that can help build your confidence before an interview. As we mentioned on the previous slide, it's about practice, practice, practice. Know what they're looking for, know the company, as you can see here, know what their values are, know how you can answer to a lot of situational questions around what they're requiring in that job ad or job description. The more you practice, the easier it will be to come up with answers. And the more you practice questions around the company and their values, the more you'll be able to integrate that into your answers. If one of their key core values is respect, perhaps there's a way of bringing that into an answer in one of your questions. Dress for success for the interview. That doesn't mean that you're dressed up very, very casually or that you're dressed up very, very professionally. It means dress for the company you are attending. If you are not sure, you can always ask HR what their dress code is. If you still don't know, dress professionally so that you're giving it a proper appearance. However, if it is a company that's remote, you may be able to do different things. Perhaps if they don't mind if you wear jeans, a lot of companies will tell you in advance. If you don't know, dress for a professional interview. Always be prepared, even for online interviews. Have a copy of your resume, references, or other documents that you may be asked to bring to an interview. The importance of having this for online interviews is that you have it as a quick reference should you wish to refer to it in some case. This helps you look more prepared. Breathing and focusing on your breath before you head into the interview room or you click the join on Zoom or Teams or wherever else you're having your online interview. Simply breathe in deeply for a count of 3 through your nose, hold it for 3, and breathe out through your mouth if possible for 3. If you can't do your mouth, which is best, at least through your nose. Making sure too that you're bringing your shoulders down as you breathe out. Do that 3 to 5 times with the point of relaxing your body. Remember, every choice is yours. If mid-interview you decide this is not the job for you, be open and honest. Let them know rather than wasting everybody's time. Also remember that if you do mess up the interview or something like that happens later, you can choose to apologize, which you should do. Every choice is always yours. If you decide to go to an interview you're not so sure about, remind yourself of that. If I get the job, I can then consider it and decide if I want to move forward. We have a happy places 5 senses visualization we like to use as a calming tool. Picturing yourself in your happy place and using your 5 senses to help relax you before an interview can be helpful. Your coach can assist you with this and help you understand how it can work for you. Listen to music and pay attention to it. It's a mindfulness activity. This is before going in to help you relax, if that's appropriate. Maybe if you're in the car driving to the appointment, you can sing to the music as well, or pay attention to the words to let your mind focus on something else besides your stress or anxiety. Another great tool is to practice gratitude before going in. Remember, some jobs these days have hundreds of people applying for them, and you got the job interview. So even if you don't get the job, practice the gratitude for at least getting this far. Before you go in, please create at least 3 to 5 questions to ask them for the "Do you have any questions for us?" question. Usually saying no means that we've either covered it, which you should say, or it's almost a yellowish flag for some interviewers, not all, because we want you to feed back and collaborate with us as interviewers. Have 3 to 5 situations that could answer several different questions so that you don't get stumped on a situational question. If, for example, it is around customers or customer service or customer satisfaction, what's one situation that didn't go well that you overcame, and one situation that went really well that you can share? Keeping in mind having specific situations that you can reflect back on when you need them ahead of time, planning for them will help you be able to answer those questions faster and easier. The night before, we want you to get your sleep. Yes, you're anxious, you're stressed, so practice some of our relaxation techniques such as breathing, visualizations, or mindfulness to help you fall asleep at night. A lot of people also like to use meditation for this. Exercise and keep your muscles relaxed, of course, always based on medical practitioners' advice, which goes along with eating a balanced diet as well. You want to eat a good diet before coming in because we all know that gas might pass at an inopportune time. So if that is you, make sure you're eating a good diet beforehand so that you don't need to be worried about that. And if it happens, you simply apologize. When it comes to interviews and our anxiety and stress around them, or even lack of confidence, we need to start to reframe our negative thoughts. If you have the thought that, oh, I just messed up that entire interview and I won't get the job, We want you to recognize you've had the thought, accept that it was negative. As humans, we generally are very negative in our thought patterns. What we want to do is change that. So the interview to me didn't feel like it went very well. However, I know that I did the best I could, and hopefully they will reach back out to me. Change that negative thought to be positive. If you have a very negative thought, such as they'll never call me back, change that and say, I'm going to follow up and say thank you on an email for the interview, and maybe that'll help them choose me. Changing our negative thoughts can be used in life, in leadership, in weight management. It can be used in career. It is a muscle, however, that needs work. Recognizing our negative thoughts is not something we're normally used to. Recognize them, accept them, and then change them to be more positive. That is our RAC 3-step model to reframing negative thoughts. We love this tool that we are going to say is courtesy of Transformation Academy. It's called the Feel Good Sandwich tool. When that fear or lack of confidence creeps in, generally it's really strong on interview day. Practice by reminding yourself with something using a feel good sandwich. So, positive affirmations such as, I can do this. Accept the fears that you have, such as, but what if I get stuck on a question? Finish it with a positive thought. Then I will use the plan I came up with earlier and I'm going to fill in the blank. We want you to reflect right now and pick one thing that you're worried about in an interview. Maybe it is that you're going to get stuck on a question. We want you to create the feel good sandwich. Start with a positive affirmation, accept the fear that you have, finish it with the positive thought. Take a few minutes to do this with your worst case scenario, perhaps, or just other general fear that you have. This tool can be used everywhere as well, in life, career, at play, it can be used. It's called a feel good sandwich because you're putting two positives over top of a fear. We want you to take a minute to reflect and practice some of the tools about preparing yourself beforehand that we've talked about. On the side of this slide, you will see what you have. So, what you do have and what you don't have. So, for example, you have no leadership or management experience. You've never been in this industry before. You're shy. You can't start for a month, etc. Then read the job posting or ad that you have posted or pulled that you want to apply for. We've just put up a general one here that we have found on Indeed. You can see with the responsibilities and requirements, you're not going to meet some of those. So we want you to use a reflection. What we want you to do is grab a job ad or job description that you want to apply for. You can have 60% of what the requirements are. It doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see under the first things first side. Here's the reflection part. Create an interview question you would ask as an interviewer for each point on this job description if you were hiring. So for example, 3+ years of experience in customer service, we can say, do you have any customer service experience or customer for like faced experience? Have you had this in transportation or logistics? Make sure that you don't just provide a yes or no answer, but that you can explain if needed. How do you research a company where this is an agency who is recruiting? So this isn't a company, they're job agents. They're a temporary agency. They are something, where they're posting on behalf of somebody else. How can you research them if you don't know who they are? Here's a couple of tips for you. You could reach out to the agency or check their website to see if this job description shows up there. There's one tip for you. Think about 3 situations you may have in your past to show your knowledge around the responsibilities or requirements. This will help you with those situational questions that you already have situations in mind that you could use right away without having to have too much thought into it or skip a question because you can't remember. And after looking at the job posting or job ad, what are those 5 questions you could ask at the end of the interview? It's interview time. You're ready. Here's some tips and tools. Remember beforehand, breathe, get into a better space, be very prepared as we've been going through in this webinar. During the interview, shake hands if offered. Since COVID, it's not always something that is offered, so go by their lead. Smile and say hi. Sit tall and comfortably. Again, if you are a fidgeter, hold your hands comfortably on your lap, perhaps with your fingers laced together. Don't avoid eye contact. I have interviewed too many people who stare at the table and I'm not feeling a connection. We need to have a connection in the interview. Make sure you look at others. Talk at the speed appropriate for the conversation. If you find that you are talking too fast, just relax and regain control of the speed. If it's really bad, apologize, take a breath, and restart. Answer all the questions, even if you don't have an answer. Think about how you could answer something if you don't have an answer. You have no customer service experience. If I asked you, tell me about your customer service experience, and you don't have any, how can you answer that question? Think about things that you may have done earlier in your career that may have been client facing, clients on the phone, talking to vendors. All of that can be related to customer service, as an example. After the interview, when you are ready to leave, make sure they have whatever it is you were asked to bring, simply by saying, do you have everything that you need before I leave? If they don't want that extra copy of the resume or the references, simply pick them up and take them with you. Do not forget your coat, your bag, your purse. It happens all the time. Make sure you don't leave that room without doing a double check. Shake hands again if offered and thank them for the interview opportunity. Walk tall and confidently when leaving. Don't speed out of there either. Walk at an appropriate pace. A couple days later, or as appropriate by the feel you get, follow up with a very short email, such as, I want to thank you again for the interview the other day for the job of blah, blah, blah. I look forward to hearing back from you either way. Saying the either way will help them see that you want an answer and will also allow them to know that, okay, I shouldn't ignore this person if they don't get that job. Didn't get the interview? Your follow-up will be, say, thanking you again and ask, do you mind me asking why I didn't receive the job offer? How can I improve for my next interview? Asking that can be a huge tip and tool for you when applying for that next job. Maybe there was something key that you did or didn't have on your resume, etc., that could be something you can work on as an improvement. We love to leave you with challenges. As well as the reflections that we have discussed throughout this webinar, we want you to pick at least one job posting you think is interesting, or perhaps something that you want to apply for, and do everything we did in here in this webinar. Do your research, practice questions, ask for help. Research the company and the position as much as you can. Pay attention to things like the About Us pages, cultures, products, services, their executive team, to even their LinkedIn and their social media presence. Decide what tips or tools you will use to prepare for and also during the interview that we have discussed today. Various mindfulness tools, relaxation techniques, meditations, preparations, all of those things. Decide which ones you want to try and use in order to help prepare for your interview. If you need help with any of the tools and information we provided, or you're not quite there yet, we can help you as certified career coaches, so please reach out. To understand what a career coach can help with beyond what we've covered today, we can help with gaining clarity around what those career goals and aspirations are that you have. We can set clear goals, hold you accountable to doing things, even reviewing your resume and helping you with tips with that cover letter. Cover letters and their culture or their values or their keywords used in job ads or on their About Us page are important to put together. How and where to look for jobs outside of places like Indeed or LinkedIn. Personal branding, including LinkedIn and even a tagline, or how to answer the question, what is it you do for a living? Matching values to those of the company. It's important that you know the company you're applying for is one you want to work for. If your personal values and those of the company seem to clash, let's talk about that. Understanding your uniqueness, your strengths, and your skills is something a coach can help you discover to overcome those barriers we put in our head that we don't meet all the requirements, therefore, we cannot apply. We can certainly help you with the interview practice for your actual interviews based on some of the information we shared here today. We'll create those questions around each point as well with our background in human resources and also interviewing. We can ask situational questions to help you prepare for those interviews. Even negotiating the offer. A lot of people feel that you have to accept the first offer. That's not always true. To understand when you can negotiate and understanding your worth are very key points that a career coach can assist you with. We can also help you prepare when you do get that great job, fitting in on the first day, because that can be intimidating as well, especially if you're more of an introvert. And of course, overcoming whatever those unique challenges and fears or limiting beliefs you have in front of you. If you do need some more help or you are looking for a career transition coach, someone who will help you with getting that great new job, feel free to reach out to us at info@twinlifecoaching.ca or visit us at twinlifecoaching.ca. We want to thank you for joining us through our webinar today. If you have any feedback, questions, or concerns, please send us an email and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Best of luck on that next interview. We're rooting for you.